NCD counting begins this week. Ialibu Pangia polls after 2-day delay. And Madang polling progressing well.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Sunday's news. NCD Assistant Election Manager Bale Kavanamore said today counting should begin a week on Tuesday. This week, after a refresher course on counting, candidates and scrutineers along with supporters have been camping outside the Rita Flynn courts to watch over ballot boxes from the 3 NCD electorates.
Since Friday, the ballot boxes were brought to the Rita Flynn. Since then, security has been tight. Candidates, scrutineers and supporters have been keeping a close eye, but police had to disperse the crowd due to harassment cases and unhygienic practices.
Open up everything to them so that it's clear. I told them, police are here, trust us. We are checking, making sure not one of us get involved with all these things. And the boxes are lined up all open in public, but they still insist, so started getting rowdy and pushing down the gate, throwing plastics and all the empty bottles inside. And also the residents at the back of us complain of smell of shit and rubbish. The freedom to move around out of the gate were blocked by the crowd here.
NCD regional candidate Andy Bauer complained about why scrutineers were being denied access into the complex. As seen in this footage, Metsup Benturi and Andy Bauer had some heated words about it. Metropolitan Superintendent Benturi later explained to MTV that it was just a misunderstanding.
I can arrest you for obstructing my duty, but the problem is I can also incite another big problem. That you candidates have no right to come and disturb our operation here. Okay, so that is the reason I argued with him and told him that you better leave here because the more you stay, you're going to insert problem.
The ballot boxes will be transported to counting areas. Counting for Mosby South will be at Kila Kila Secondary, Northwest and NCD Regional at Rita Flynn, and Mosby Northeast at Sir John Guy Stadium.
We will have to have scrutineers in, and we would like 2 scrutineers per candidate. Lokam confirming all PO confirming all boxes will move northeast to stadium. Logo lock him up, container. Bami play move him south. Go down lo Kila Kila. Lock him lo container. Na open northeast na provincial. Bami play lock him lo 4 block container le. Northwest. Sorry, thank you lo. Okay, tomorrow. Mipla by working training for counting officials. Morning by Mipla preparing counting venues. Afternoon by Mipla training on officials, and we should commence counting on Tuesday.
Only 2 scrutineers from each candidate were allowed into the Rita Flynn grounds, and polling officials entering the complex had their bags searched. Adelaide Sirok Kari National, MTV News.
NCD ballot boxes are being moved to respective counting locations. And in preparation for counting this week, NCD election officials will undergo a counting briefing tomorrow. Mosby Northeast Returning Officer Thomas Rango said this training will help equip officials about the counting process.
National Capital District open and regional candidates with supporters gathered outside Rita Flynn Court where ballot papers for NCD were kept before being transported this afternoon. NCD Election Manager Alwyn Jimmy said ballot boxes supplied from there must be similar to those issued out for counting at respective counting venues.
So the boxes that are supplied from here must not be a different box that is in here now. It is the box that we are issued out. Now it's returned and we must make sure that it's the same box that was given out.
There are a total of 728 ballot boxes being issued. Ballot boxes for Mosby South have been transported to Kila Kila Secondary School. Others will be transported after being sorted out.
So they have checking the right figures, number of votes, number of box, and all these sort of things. So that the scrutiny that we allow them to come in representing the candidates, they must satisfy of what we are doing in here.
However, counting for tomorrow will be suspended, giving time for election officials to undergo training.
Basically, the formality of the counting, they have to understand sort of the process involved in terms of the counting, and these are the basic but very important things in the counting so that there is no double voting, double counting, and in terms of sorting, people arrange the ballot papers properly into respective candidates' boxes, and from the sorting table goes into the actual counting.
Election officials will be working in shifts during counting and will be monitored to avoid foul play and cases of disputed returns after counting.
So what is now happening now here, we are trying to make sure that the scrutineers are happy about the boxes that was distributed from here to the polling place and returned to this place, so that there is no other boxes apart from the one that we have issued from here.
Counting will start this week. Eric Arupma, National MTV News.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill finally cast his vote today. Mr. O'Neill voted in his local village, Kauvo, in Pangia, Southern Highlands Province. Before polling began, the community had a church service. Polling for Ialibu Pangia was deferred for 2 days following complaints and a petition by candidates over missing ballot papers and the appointment of presiding officers, among other things.
Election materials arrived late yesterday afternoon in Pangia Station under very tight security escort. Assistant Returning Officer for East Pangia, Samson Pulu, addressed the voters before scrutineers were allowed to sort out the election materials.
Something, ballot papers, ballot box, materials, everything is here now. Bikaragam now. Okay. What by you making now? I'm people asking all scrutineers, one time presiding officers long East Pangia, South Wiru, by Plakam, by Misotama over ballot papers, ballot boxes, labeling, by serial numbers. Something by now night, you go in Napa tomorrow and polling bago.
They stayed up all night preparing for polling to commence today. This morning, polling officials quickly set up polling booths to commence the one-day polling. A church service was held in the sitting Prime Minister's village before polling started. Following the service, the PM was escorted by his fellow villagers to the polling booth, where he was the first person in his village to cast the vote.
Okay.
The atmosphere was filled with excitement as Kauvo villagers witnessed the Prime Minister casting his vote.
I've been given the opportunity by my community to cast my vote freely in the manner that I want, and I hope that every other member of my community and my district is allowed to express that.
After 2 days of deferral, the sitting Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has cast his vote in his local village in Southern Highlands. The deferral was because election materials did not arrive at the polling venues on time.
I know that it's not been easy. Last 2 days deferral, like everywhere else in the country, we've had some difficulties in getting logistical support to get the ballot papers and ballot boxes out to the remotest parts of our community.
Meanwhile, there are some parts of Ialibu Pangia that are yet to commence polling. Thakla Gunga, National MTV News.
An independent candidate running for Jiwaka regional seat, Michael Roim, is frustrated to see his name appearing under the Triumph Heritage Party on the candidate poster. Roim was informed about this by his scrutineers who saw the posters last Friday. One-day polling for Jiwaka was set for last Friday, but was deferred to Monday, the 3rd of July. Roim wants the Electoral Commission to explain why his name was under the party.
Poster me surprisingly na mi panamato some this la to me ko underneath lo name lo da party which me no one la time me no give one la profile lo me all no lim me no sign one la acceptance letter long endorse me na I no got one la paper no got one la document me been sign me na two la time yet me go long office for electoral commission plenty of line all talk me like endorse me. So many parties all interest law endorse me. Me at me talk also me ba ko as an independent in an pass on the one party.
You're watching National EMTV News. More news on the national general elections after these messages. Stay with us. Welcome back to National EMTV News. A polling team travelling through rugged terrain of inland Rigo district in Central Province said the journey was worth the result. The team conducted polling for Ward 10, which included Gobaki Golo, Gulo Golo and Paitogoro villages. Stephen Keith, team leader for Ward 10, Rigo district, said a total of 1,600 voters showed up at the polling stations, but only 790 were able to vote. The team was airlifted on Monday into inland Rigo and then had to walk the mountainous area, conducting polling until Friday the 30th of June. Polling was conducted according to the updated list of voters from the Electoral Commission. The team leader said grievances regarding voter names being absent are not their responsibility. Madang's election manager says polling in the 6 districts of the province is progressing well without any major incidents. Peter Yasaro said most of the districts are yet to complete polling. The other districts will take a few more days to complete. Madang Urban will start polling tomorrow.
In Pangia, polling is progressing well. There were no any reported incidents in the polling areas. Ialibu LLG is the only area in the province expected to complete polling first by Tuesday. The other 2 LLGs, Almalmi and Yawar, will need few more days to complete. Meanwhile, Ambenob and Transgogol LLGs of Madang district are expected to complete polling soon. Polling in Raikos is progressing well, but for Middle Ramu, they had just started yesterday.
For Middle Ramu, we have a problem with Joseph Star. They just started yesterday, and we're hoping that by next weekend, they should be coming closer to wind up or Monday. For Raikos or Istapname, Usino Bundi, some parts of Usino LLG, and we complete all ballot boxes were taken to William government station. They are there. Soon they will be transported to Madang.
Meanwhile, election officials are now preparing election materials for the one-day polling for Madang Eben tomorrow. Yasaro says straight after the one-day polling for Madang Eben, election officials will start getting ready for counting. 5 counting centers will be in the Madang town vicinity, and 1 counting center will be at Sumkar and the other will be at Pangia.
After the one-day polling tomorrow, we will be now gearing up for the counting centers, preparing for all our counting centers.
Yasaro says the only problem they are facing is the number of people who should be voting, but their names aren't on the electoral roll.
The biggest problem we are facing here is the common roll. People are not voting and they are very frustrated. We have notable people like Siano Lamed, Pitayama. They have all been calling me, showing their frustration. I told them I can't do much. We have already come to the middle of the polling and hopefully we will go that way until we finish. So that is our major problem in the province.
Matalubis, National EMTV News, Madang.
Polling in East Nibbin province has been relatively calm and orderly for the past 7 days. But despite the polling winding down, many voters and scrutineers are bracing themselves for the counting period. And it might be a little bit different than ones in previous years. Edwin Fidelis has more on this story.
This is what it looks like at a polling venue in the Raluana local level government in Kokopo district on Friday. Voters are queuing up to cast their votes. Amongst them was the East Nibbin sitting governor Eraminto Baining Jr., who also casted his votes.
We waiting for counting. Now, we come up new leader.
Raluana is one of many LLGs in the province that is slowly approaching the end of its polling. A similar scenario is also being seen in other parts of the province where polling appears to be relatively calm and orderly. But many eligible voters were not able to vote and almost all of them are very angry, even though they didn't show it.
Plantilo all this line we all know got name long all complain all ballot all what record all councillors inside 11 LLG.
The total number of people who were not able to cast their vote this election is yet to be made known by the Provincial Electoral Commission, and their numbers is expected to run into thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands.
It's like one big place here. Currently, the nation blaming for one million facing now. Inside, Lomi Blatu Robol is facing.
The election period in East New Britain province is always a quiet one. No major incidents have been reported since polling began last Saturday. The province is now looking forward to the counting in the coming weeks, but voters and scrutineers of candidates say the counting might be a little bit different from the polling because issues relating to courts of disputed returns are already looming, a political aspect that appears to be inevitable in every elections in Papua New Guinea. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
An Australian Defence Force aircraft has airlifted spare ballot papers to the autonomous region of Bougainville yesterday. The ballot papers will be on standby should there be any need for them. Acting Election Manager Desmond Timiaso say they will return to polls again tomorrow to capture eligible voters who missed out when supplementary rolls were not used. Timiaso says such information concerning national elections must be made public at all times to maintain transparency. He also thanked all polling officials for successfully completing the first week of polling in the autonomous region of Bougainville. You're with National EMTV News, stories making headlines overseas. When we come back, stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, Iraqi forces are locked in an intense battle for the final blocks of western Mosul, still under ISIS control. Civilians left behind ISIS lines lack access to clean water and medicine, and many have limited access to food.
And civilians, human shields for weeks, stoop under gunfire or are even oblivious to it. Some never leave the underground. Loud, constant blasts in the darkness. Unable to walk, at first the man feigns ignorance, but soon admits ISIS were on the roof and have mined the entire street. The interrogator later tells his team the man is himself ISIS. For the past week, the desperate rush to life had continued. The UN estimated 150,000 people were trapped here, but in the end, nobody had any idea. Or how many lie left behind them in the rubble. Water, water, I'm dying, she screams, her lips white. In crippling heat and panic, pray you never know thirst like this. Or what it is like to carry your family out, lifeless on a cart. This is his mother. For God's sake, help me carry him, he cries. They try, running to the closest point in the narrow street a vehicle can reach. Stop the blood loss, they plead. It's unclear if the boy survived. Even when this tract of dust is cleared of ISIS, the killing in Iraq's fractured society won't stop. And her private hell of memories won't suddenly be washed away.
And it looks like ISIS won't be able to hang on to Mosul much longer, but the group has expanded well beyond Iraq and Syria now. In the Philippines, for instance, insurgent group Abu Sayyaf is now fighting under the ISIS banner. CNN spoke to a former member of Abu Sayyaf.
What was the attraction in those days to join an armed militant group?
To us, it was a noble obligation to take part in jihad.
What was the justification at that time for killing people?
At first, we thought that the organization is for religious purpose. It is for the propagation of the Islamic teachings. It is to establish the Sharia. We never thought that the group would resort to kidnappings, bombings, and many other atrocities.
Local officials say has received $15 million in ransom for the release of 20 of 21 hostages kidnapped 4.5 months
Especially
ago.
during the start of the group, the foreign connection, foreign support is very important.
What kind of things did these men teach you?
They provided us with their experience in Afghanistan, how to conduct ambush, and what are the things needed during warfare.
Did you use the islands and boats to smuggle people and money and weapons?
Yes, it was very easy for us using the fastest speedboats that they have. They can easily transport firearms and money very easily.
How much money would be on a boat?
Millions. This has never happened before, that militant groups in the Philippines have come together.
Do you feel any guilt about your time with the militant groups?
Yes. I resented having joined this kind of organization, having known people who brought these destructions.
Prince Charles and Camilla, the band U2 and Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau have been celebrating Canada's 150th anniversary of Confederation. Thousands converged on Ottawa to mark the national holiday.
Prince Charles was driven in a coach flanked by Royal Canadian Mounted Police through the capital, Ottawa, as the country celebrated its 150th anniversary. He was representing the Queen, who remains Canadian head of state. The Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau introduced Prince Charles to his children. There was recognition that these celebrations were taking place on the ancestral lands of the Algonquin people, Indigenous Canadians. Also among the performers was Bono with his own message.
When others build walls, you open doors.
It was a message expanded on by Prime Minister Trudeau.
We don't care where you're from or what religion you practice or whom you love. You are all welcome in Canada.
Prince Charles didn't mention Canada's British ties, but he paid tribute to Canadian values.
Around the world, Canada is recognized as a champion of human rights and as a powerful and consistent example of diversity.
This was a day that underlined that in North America, Canada's voice is distinctive and increasingly different to that of America.
Archaeologists have uncovered ruins undisturbed for around 1800 years. It's part of a house thought to have once belonged to a senior Roman officer.
Scratch the surface in Rome and you find history. It's an archaeologist's paradise, but for officials overseeing the long-delayed construction of the city's newest subway line, Line C or Linea C, Rome's embarrassment of ancient riches is a curse that keeps on giving. While digging a shaft for the subway's tunnel near the Colosseum late last year, workers uncovered what appear to be the charred remains of a luxurious home, complete with central heating, dating back 1,800 years.
C'è stata una straordinaria situazione che ha fatto sì che il crollo.
It's an extraordinary situation, Rome's archaeological superintendent Francesco Prospetti tells me. Collapse of the ceiling sealed everything inside. It was carbonized without being burned. It's unique in Rome. The ceiling's wooden beams, which would have decayed to dust, have been preserved. There are no human remains, but archaeologists did find the bones of a dog who wouldn't or couldn't flee the flames.
Questo povero cane stava durante l'incendio, si è trovato nella stanza.
This poor dog was already in the room during the fire, says archaeologist Simona Moretta. We found ashes under its paws. Probably part of the burning ceiling fell on it, and there it was stuck and died. Construction on Linea C didn't begin until 2007, and since then work has been delayed by one archaeological discovery after another. This is the challenge of trying to make life modern in an ancient city like Rome. No matter where you dig, you're almost certain to find something. Rome wasn't built in a day, and its newest subway line won't be completed in a decade, maybe not even two. The future will have to wait as the past is uncovered.
Yeah, with National EMTV News, Trukai Sports is next. We'll have boxing, rugby league and more. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with boxing. Australia's Jeff Horn has stunned Filipino Manny Pacquiao to claim a unanimous 12-round decision and win the WBO World Welterweight title. Horn took the welterweight title off boxing legend Pacquiao in front of 50,000 fans at Brisbane's Suncorp Stadium.
Pacquiao's longtime trainer, Freddie Roach, predicted the fight would be short and sweet, but Horn, unbeaten in his 17 previous professional fights, applied pressure in the first round, landing few good blows to Manny. The second round was fairly even for both boxers, but Horn seemed to be controlling most of the pacing. The Australian had a small cut to his eye, but doesn't seem to affect his vision in round 3. Horn continued to try to take the fight to Pacquiao in round 4 and 5, but continued to miss more punches than Pacquiao does. A clash of heads between both fighters left Manny with cuts on both sides of his forehead that left him bleeding into round 7 and 8. Pacquiao was the aggressor in round 9 after landing regular shots to Horn that left his face battered and bloody. However, Horn got through round 11 looking steadier after bouncing back from round 10. But is behind the scorecards with only 3 minutes to land a knockout blow. Horn came out throwing everything he had in the final round, but Pacquiao kept coming at him, landing 4 punches that had the commentators convinced the boxing legend has done it again. But instead, a stunning outcome as Jeff Horn was announced the winner. A huge day for Australian boxing history.
And now, the welterweight champion of the world.
In the post-fight interview, Horn challenged Floyd Mayweather to a fight and then said he would also be open to a Pacquiao rematch.
This is just having a bit of dig overseas to Floyd Mayweather, that this is no joke. Which one does he want? The walking stick or the gloves? We'll have a real fight.
Pacquiao, however, said he respects the judge's decision, very gracious comment considering how controversial the decision was, and accepts the rematch.
No complaint, part of the game. He deserved it.
There is a rematch clause in the contract. Would you like to fight Jeff Horn again, the opportunity to win your title back?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
To the NRL, and the Brisbane Broncos got whacked, this time by the Melbourne Storm, 42 points to 12 in round 17 of the Telstra Premiership. Storm 5'8" Cameron Munster was the fireball, assisting 2 tries and grinding the Broncos' defence line.
A Storm try in the opening 5, followed by another in the 13th minute, marked the demolition for the Broncos early on. The slow recovery from the Bronx saw another Storm touchdown, this time by Curtis Scott in the 16th minute.
Red on right now, and they got a cross again.
Ben Hunt then restored some faith for the Brisbane outfit when he scored halfway through the first half. But the Storm struck again in the remaining minutes before break with 2 more tries.
It's deep. We know he's a leaper.
At halftime, the score stood at 6-20 in favour of the Melbourne side.
In the first half here, Darren.
Keen for recovery, the Bronx took the field in the second half pumped. A David Mid try and another Jordan Cahill conversion lessened the margin by 8 points for the Broncos. But that was as far as they went. Billy Slater and Curtis Scott executed 2 more touchdowns in a space of 8 minutes, with Cameron Smith coming in with 2 successful conversions to extend the lead once more.
He will score.
With a 26-12 scoreline in the 64th minute, Broncos knew they lost the battle. Josh Adoka's intercept that resulted in a try in the dying minute was the icing on the cake for the Storms.
Well, Billy couldn't get there from the intercept, but
and in a similar encounter, Shaq sent the Roosters scrambling with a 44-12 victory, and the Warriors succumbed once more against a Manly outfit 26-22. Dina Rose Raiko, National EMTV Sports.
The SPPNG Hunters defeated Central Queensland Capras 30 points to 10 this afternoon at the National Football Stadium. Hunters coach Michael Marram says it was a hard-fought match and has picked up some negatives that they will be working on before their next match. Capras coach Kim Williams was happy with his team's performance, knowing how well the Hunters play.
Positive thing was we hung in there until the last 10 minutes where we scored 2 points there, so I think we defended well. Okay, there was a lot of errors both sides, probably due to the weather, but that's football. It's something we can go back and work on. So
yeah, for the most part, really happy with that. We under no illusions how hard it was going to be to come over here, but we took some confidence, I guess, from seeing Tweed come here a couple of weeks ago and get a tough victory. And we were right in that. I think there were a couple of big moments in that game that went against us, and we struggled to recover from that late in.
To rugby union, Sonny Bill Williams is facing the World Rugby Judiciary Panel after being sent off from last night's second test loss to the Lions in Wellington. There is still 6 days to go before the deciding third test in Auckland, and it feels like tension is already starting to build.
Defining moment of an historic Lions victory.
Head, neck, it's direct, the contact is direct.
25 minutes in, and initially the ear went out of the All Blacks. Just the third New Zealand test player in history to be sent off, the first in 50 years. But the All Blacks have no complaints even the day after.
Going to bed and going to sleep doesn't change the result. Sonny's paid a big price, the team's paid a big price for him making a mistake.
I really feel for him, but naturally he'll be thinking it's his fault.
In a surprise move, Kano was replaced by Nani Lamapi to give the All Blacks cover under kicks and sufficient strike power. It almost worked.
What we've got to learn out of last night is how to play a little smarter in those situations.
The All Blacks didn't look like 14 though for the next 35 minutes as the Lions gave away a slew of penalties, 13 in total, and a yellow card to prop Marco Vunipola.
I guess the thing is that we allowed them in the game with our discipline.
We can't lose a test series on the back of some stupid penalties. That'll be unacceptable. How do you live with that for the rest of your life?
Bowden Barrett kicked 7 penalties from 10 shots, misses costly in the end, but there were more issues. Focus regathered, the Lions pulled in All Blacks, finishing stronger, scoring 15 points in the last 20 minutes.
Now Faletau.
They had an opportunity, we didn't make our tackles, I missed my tackle in the corner.
You never know what the conditions are going to be like next week, and being able to play and create in those weather conditions, we can take a lot from it.
Away from the red card, the Lions made twice the tackles of the scrambling All Blacks, but missed less. They also made more offloads and clean breaks.
For 2 test matches in a row, they haven't really stressed us from an attacking perspective, and we think we're the ones that have played some pretty positive rugby.
Rugby's been needing something like this for a while, and it's now got it, so everyone will be a bit nervy about that because it could go either way, and how exciting is that?
The excited and confident Lions have already arrived in Queenstown for 2 days off. The All Blacks will have a ton of motivation to bounce back on Eden Park.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The University of Papua New Guinea will be part of University Sports Development Forum in Russia. UPNG will be represented by Behaya Nari, who left for Russia yesterday. The week-long program will train volunteers to develop sporting events in their respective universities.
Invited for the first time this year, Benai Nari was selected by UPNG Sports Executives, Australian Uni Sports and PNG High Performance to represent UPNG for this forum. It's called the University Sports Volunteers Forum and will be hosted in Kazan, Russia. Only recently recognized in the country, university sports in PNG have taken a step forward just before the Pacific Games to improve university sports and using it as a pathway to identify sporting talents. Nari, who is part of the student body and staff of UPNG, says he is delighted to represent UPNG and the country.
What they are trying to do is empower volunteers to continue to support such events, so that when we have those World University Olympics, we have the support of the volunteers, and they're able to identify talents who are able to participate in the world stage.
PNG High Performance Development Officer Connie Papau says working in partnership with UPNG to help identify talents will continue and hoping to improve and develop more sporting programs.
The idea now is expanded, and the fruit, we have better fruit now. So there's a lot of positiveness coming along the pathway that we are building. So pretty much the focus now is for us to have the meeting in September.
Uni Sports Executive George Oki says Nari was the suitable candidate for the forum, especially with the short notice.
Our focus now is, I think, the 2020 World Uni Games in Italy. That's our focus. So this is part of our preparation towards that.
In Kazan, university sports volunteers will be lectured on budget planning, engagement of sponsors and partners, stages of volunteering programs, development of motivation programs, and volunteers' preparations for major events. Nari says he will learn as much as he can.
So attending that that academy will help, build in me the necessary skills, and I'll identify some opportunities as well as learn from other experiences from other participants and from the facilitators to take back to PNG and help expand and build.
The participants of the forum will end the forum with sporting activities and hopefully meeting sporting greats. Godwin Eki, National, MTV Sports.
To women's hockey, New Zealand have been beaten by the clock, edging them out of a famous victory over the Netherlands in the semi-finals of the World League tournament in Brussels.
To score against them at the tournament, but a Kiwi mistake led to a Dutch equaliser, going shot for shot in the shootout. It was Sam Charlton who looked to have snatched a sudden death victory over the #1 ranked team in the world.
Trying to finish is the time. It's going to be tight. It's in. And New Zealand have won. That must have been very tight on time.
Their excitement was quickly shut down, though. The Dutch sought a video review which showed the ball crossing the line 0.2 seconds after the 8-second time limit. It wasn't long until the Kiwis crumbled.
There's the spin. Blocked by the goalkeeper. There's a follow-up. There is, but it's gone wide. And the Dutch have done it. New Zealand will be absolutely gutted. They came so close.
Their 5-4 loss sees New Zealand now take on South Korea in the bronze medal game tomorrow morning.
And then in Strukai Sports, still to come, the weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
Strukai Sports. Strukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, fine and windy for Daru, cloudy with some showers expected in Port Moresby, a few showers for Kerma, a shower or two for Alotau, some showers in Popondetta. To the Momasa region, thundery showers expected in Wau, a shower or two for Ley, a few showers in Madang and Wewak, some showers as well in Vanimore. To the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine in Lorengau, Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul and Buka, a few showers expected in Kimbe. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, all these major centres can expect some showers with morning fog. A look at the forecast for small ships, but first there is a strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of Long Island to Madang, to Pangia, Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, and with waters of New Ireland to East New Britain. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Kiwai Island to Kerama, to Yule Island, to Hood Point, to Samarai Island, seas 2.5 to 3 meters. Waters of Torres Strait and Daru, seas 3 to 3.5 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, Finchafen through Vitia Strait, Dampier Strait, including CSC Island to Long Island, Samarai Island to Cape Bogle to Finchafen, seas 2 to 2.5 meters. Waters of Madang to Pangia, Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo and the northern PNG Indonesian border, seas 1.5 to 2 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, New Ireland to East New Britain and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of West New Britain, seas 1 to 2.5 meters. And a look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. Coral Sea, seas rough to very rough with southeasterly winds at 25 to 34 knots. Solomon Seas, seas moderate to rough with southeasterly winds at 20 to 25 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas slight to moderate with southeasterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. And the Pacific Ocean, seas slight with southeasterly winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield, with doing with Dulux.
And before we go, a recap of tonight's top stories. Counting for the NCD electorate set to begin this week. Polling in Ialibu Pangia commences after being deferred for 2 days, and SP Hunters defeated the QC Capras in this afternoon's Intrust Super Cup match. And that's the way it is this Sunday, the 2nd of July 2017. From the news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.